little differently than I usually am, and that's because I have a memorial service right after this down in Philadelphia. So I wanted to share with you today, this idea that not everything is a crisis, and we live sort of in a time period where yeah, we're like, it feels like crisis after crisis after crisis, and we have to find a peace in that, not in ignoring that there's challenges, but a peace in that. And one of the pieces around it is this idea of this challenge that we might have around a crisis where things are peaceful, and we can then sometimes use our faith, and our faith even can create a crisis. It can create a challenge because we just refuse to take moments of peace. Part of the spiritual life is obviously seeing the challenges of the world, leaning into those, doing the work, rolling up our sleeves, pointing out the areas where there are challenges, and doing something about it, like clearly. And we also have to have a time to not do that. We also have to have the time of peace and rest, of shalom. Um, in order just to keep our batteries charged. We can't always be going. And it's interesting in new church circles, Christian new church circles, we refer to something called could be called fear mongering in the broader culture, but this idea that we can get this morality that just is like constantly harping on us to make every single decision a moral decision. And not every single decision in life is a moral decision. We have to have time of rest. So that's what this part of the story is about. The context here is kind of fun. The context is a context around uh, Jesus, and they're sitting around lounging, having dinner. As we mentioned yesterday, Mary comes in. This is friend Mary, not Mother Mary, and she anoints his feet with oil, and all of a sudden, this beautiful perfumed fragrance wafts through the room. And just think of the beauty of that. Sitting there, a meal with Jesus. You walk into the room, it just smells really good. Everybody's smiling. They're having a good time. They're enjoying each other's company. Again, like, it smells good. It passes the smell test, as we said yesterday. And then in walks Judas. And Judas very different agenda. And it is kind of interesting, and it's an interesting twist, right? It's a very interesting twist. But later, one of the disciples, Judas, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. So he comes on and he just sort of blurts out, like, why are we wasting all this money on perfume? This should go to the poor. Well, there's many times where you could look at the Bible and you go, yeah, that's exactly what Jesus would say. So there are times for that. And this was not the time. This was not the time. This was a moment of shalom, a moment of peace, a moment of calm, a moment of actually not doing, because God is present there too. And we need to have those moments as well. Many of you are very aware of a very famous quote. I'm going to pull it up here. A very famous quote from Thomas Merton. And this Thomas Merton quote is talking about these challenges and how severe these challenges are. And listen to this. Now, Thomas Merton, again, very famous monk, brilliant Christian writer, considered still to this day, considered one of the greatest Christian writers of all time. And this is what he has to say. And I want you to think about it in line with what we just read there. There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist, so in other words, the part of us that has the highest ideal, succumbs. Activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form Peace. Isn't that beautiful? I want to read that again. The frenzy of our activism neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our own work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. It's interesting. And again, that line there really striking, right? The frenzy of our activity neutralizes our work for peace. And that's what Jesus is talking about here. Look, when your frenzy of activism actually starts to get at that root of peace and starts to pull that apart, that's where there's a problem. And that's what the lesson is here. I think it's a real important one. Finding that place, folks, for peace is so important. We want to make sure again that we do all we can to make the world a better place, and we also have to turn it off on occasion. And remember, folks, that not everything's a crisis. Not everything is a crisis. We need to get out of that mindset, do what we can with what God has given us for that day. And remember, as always, every day, a little bit of Sabbath every day, a little bit of shalom every day, a little bit of peace every day, a little bit of rest every day does a soul good. So that's my thought for today, friends. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ring the bell and allow the bell just to bring us to a little place of peace. Then we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hello if you'd care to leave a comment on our Facebook Live page. So with that, friends, let's listen to the bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still. Small group options coming up. Like your signal was dipping, caught most of it except quote and prayer. Okay. Yeah, so I guess we had some tech issues. So my apologies for that, folks. We'll imagine we're still experiencing those. So folks, we will see you tomorrow and wishing you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.